An important aspect to writing a critical literary analysis essay is to be able to provide proper MLA citations to give credit to the passages and sources that you use throughout your student writing. An example of student writing can be found here in this video. Here we see a body paragraph from a student's literary analysis essay about the short story The Most Dangerous Game by Richard O'Connell. As the student is providing their evidence and rationale for their argument within this paragraph, the student uses two direct quotes from the story. The first thing when a student uses direct quotes from a story is, of course, to put those direct quotes in quotation marks, as we see the student doing right here. Any text that a student writer takes from another source must be placed in quotation marks in order to avoid plagiarism, which is something we'll talk about later. The next thing that a student needs to do to follow MLA specifications is to let the reader know where they obtained the passage. And here we see the writer has written O'Connell 29 in parentheses. O'Connell is the last name of the author, Richard O'Connell, and 29 references the page number 29 where the student found the quote. And in writing MLA parenthetical citations, as this is called, the student places the citation directly after the quote. And so as the sentence reads, the huge black dogs whose eyes glitter greenly bring people back to their savage nature. You may notice something a little strange about this particular quote, and you'll notice that this student has used a series of brackets. The brackets simply indicate to the reader that the student writer has, in fact, altered the text in some way, in this case adding some words or perhaps changing the verb tense. Brackets are only needed if a student writer is altering the text in some way. There's one more quote I'd like to point out in this student sample. Here it says, he seems quite amused when he utters, your Burmese tiger pit has claimed one of my best dogs. If you look closely at this passage, you may notice that it is slightly different from the first quote that I showed you. That is, that instead of using your typical quotation mark that we're all used to, here the writer has used, in fact, 3 quotation marks. We refer to these as double quotes. You'll notice your regular quotes here and then a single quotation mark. And we notice that here again. And the astute viewer will quickly figure out that this must mean that the student writer is quoting dialogue. And this passage, your Burmese tiger pit has claimed one of my best dogs, is actual dialogue from the story, The Most Dangerous Game. And so since the student writer is quoting something that is already in quotes, she had to use regular quotes and then a single quote in order to indicate that she is in fact quoting dialogue. The last thing that I would like you to notice about this particular passage is her citation comes here at the end of the sentence, and so again she has the parentheses 34. She did not include the author's name this time because it is implied that it's coming from the same author, but we see that this passage comes from a different page number. And then an important rule that you will hear me say many times is that your punctuation goes after the citation. So we see the period here after her parenthetical citation. We do not see it here at the end of her sentence. Keeping those rules in mind will help you create perfectly formatted MLA citations.